Shall I start? No.
Yes, we can start now.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen and go. If there is anything, text me WhatsApp, okay?
Okay.
Good evening to everyone and welcome back. I apologize to be late. First of all, was the traffic issue. Okay. Yes, we can start. Okay, I'm going to share the screen and go. If there is anything, text me. Just briefly, we'll introduce myself. I'm an associate professor at the German University in Cairo. I'm an architect, I'm an educator, I'm an urbanist too also. And I'm teaching and I work in the topics of the city. City as a developed, city for people, city as a urban design. And the topics of my second lecture, as you, I don't know if all of you or some of you attend already the first one, in the packet of the lecture I offered to student 34 in this session, one topic was about the water, and we discussed last time. And this topic is about sustainability and green design in a different form and scale. And I would like to give you some examples, some principles, some keyword. This is very important. And there are several videos. At the end of the presentation, I will provide my PDF. You can go more deeply. And I hope we can have a nice discussion after. But please keep your question after, okay? On the way, we are not going to interrupt too much the presentation. Well, the title is Sustainable City and Green Design, as I mentioned before. Please keep the question at the end. And I'm going to start. When we are talking, I'm sure all of you designer, planner, engineering, architect, or whatever in the school of the architecture, art, design, or whatever, you are very up to date. And when we are talking about sustainable city, this is the key words are coming out. Alternative, sustainability, environment, ecology, and probably this is one of the image, okay? It's coming at one of the picture. Coming out, one second, coming out if you are searching about this subject. And this is the vision of the city, futuristic, completely covered of green, river and water everywhere. And this is quite utopic dream. Now we will see through the presentation many aspects we have to consider about this subject. And of course, smart, sustainable, ecology, environment. This is all these alternative energies are all keywords are bombing us and bombing you, everybody, for this new vision. If you Google sustainable city, this is the image are coming out again. Solar panel. This is one of the park I will present after to you, and the tree and plants and flower everywhere and green. This is the picture. This is the dream, the utopia. And let's go. If we are dealing with on the topic of design, let's say, and we Google sustainable design, we will find many diagrams. This is the typical diagram of the tree hair, recycling, reuse, and design is running also as a principle, as a theory beside this one. Now, let's start little by little. The definition of sustainability. Humanity has the ability to make develop. We always change, we always update, we're always going. We are living in Cairo. You have an amazing lab, as I told you last lecture, and is growing and changing. This is the city. City is an organism. Everywhere change because we are changing our society and we adapting, we change our environment. Now, the humanity, we have as a humans the ability to make develop sustainable. We can grow in a sustainable way to ensure that it meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. Now, this is a definition more than 30 years ago, okay? And is related from the World Commission on the Environmental and Development. We must keep in our mind, this is a very, very important principle. What is sustainability? Sustainability is designation of form of the human economic activity and culture. Behind the sustainability, these are the three aspects always running: economic, environmental, and the social. And last time, I spoke also about the social impact, some projects very good for the community. Sustainable development meets the needs of the present without compromising the future. This is a huge, important, and strong remark, because we are the which one? we have the responsibility as the designer, as a planner. One second. As a planner, which one we are using the resource, we are going to shape the space of the life of the community. Now, we are designer, we are the which one, we are imagining the future, right? And we are in love with utopia, with the visionary. Now, this is coming a very, very important quote from Fuller. Have a look what he did in the last century. No, the best way to predict the future is to design it. Now, we are so lucky because we have this great chance, no, to design and to define the new way how we can live together from the city scale, from different scale of the project. Just a little bit, because I cannot go through the issue of the problem of the energy, the vision of 1970. We live at the crisis for the energy and resource. If you go through the environmental study, the climate change, but it's not the topic of this lecture, but I suggest to investigate. One of the visionary through this philosophy was Paolo Soleri, sorry, because he passed away. And the story of Paolo Soleri is very interesting because on the time to back to the environment in 1970, to start to highlight the problem of the resource and the energy, Paolo Soleri was one of the great examples and reference to start to create this vision and this utopia. Everybody can live in eco-village, everybody can have the green dream, all this kind of thing. It's a very interesting experience. It's experience, by the way, in Arizona, in the desert. Something is very important for the audience I have in front of me, because you know we are in Egypt and 95% of the desert of the territory is desert. I suggest to go through the article if you want to read it to understand the vision. No, and this is some spot of the way he was thinking. If an architect ego is very small, it is done for it. If the rest of them, they might make some very important contribution. Talking about the capacity of the designer to give a contribution for the environment. It is only logical that the preparation of our soul and the soul of our society coincide with the preparation of the environment. Now, he's talking about different aspects for society, the community, and the environment. All of these, as I mentioned before, are the three big pillars of the sustainability. And also, this was a bit the definition. We must define the American dream. You know, when we are talking about the American dream in 1960, this ideal, what are we living in suburbs? Everywhere, not only here in Cairo, the villa, the garden, the suburb, the city by car. This is the price of the modernism, okay? But it was already careful at that time, 1980, 1970, because this is up and there before what we are living now here. We must redefine the American dream before we rebuild the infrastructure on which it is based. I mean, it's very, very important. They put attention in many different aspects and topics. And Arco Santi is the place he designed, he founded. It is an idea of sustainable city of the desert of Arizona. It's a school of architecture. It's a place where many artists also spend the time for residents for artists. There are different type of programs. They organize very, very nice things. But Paolo Soleri passed away a few years ago, and now the project continuing, but is not really at the level at the beginning. I would like to share with you a short video. Is the story of Paolo Soleri.
Sketch comes from detailing. This one just, and then just sweating soil, cement. I'm Paolo Soleri. I'm a citizen of the planet. My proposition there is almost complete. I mean, it's so simple. Let's not have 300 million.
I suggest to you to go to the article, to the story, to open the website of Arco Santi, to see how was the vision. The visionary architect with a very large imagination, with an amazing drawing, with a very interesting element built up there. It's a very interesting story, very, very interesting story, and is a very interesting reference for you as an architect of the 21st century.
Yes, try to move in the city, get the city to reach out with an arm of itself, or 10 arms of itself, reach into the farmers, into that environment, and offer them the double presence of farming and city life. Well, until very few years ago, I was a curiosity. You can say that I was notorious. Now I tend to become famous, and that's very important for the project. It's a little too late for me.
I remember when I was a student in the School of Architecture in Rome, I think so, he came in Rome for a lecture, but I was so young and I couldn't attend. And now I really miss it because then he passed away.
One day I found out Franco Wright, a little publication. So I liked what I saw and I wrote to him. After 6 months or so, I was invited. Yeah, it's probably the record clock. I was born in Torino, so my life is apartment house, apartment living, and not very affluent. But the beauty was that I belong to the city, really. The greatness of habitat is to generate an environment which is not just rational, but it's passionately rational. And that's beauty.
For more than 20 years, Solari has been talking about and doodling his dream cities, building them into lavish cardboard and plastic models. Plenty of attention to making them look different, but almost a studied indifference to the practical things, like structure and sewage, all those meddlesome details that get in the way of turning dreams into buildings. Solari has been advocating his ideas for many years with only limited success. Still, 75 colleges consider time spent in Solari's architectural commune as contributing towards a degree.
Social notion that beyond your white fence is enemy territory, and that's really peaceful. I don't think I'm happy. I think I have a certain contentment for what I'm doing.
Find many different documentary. You can find a lot of experience. You can search about Arcosanti, and it's a great lesson. It's a great lesson. It's something it passed away and remind us a school, remind us a very interesting experimentation on language in architecture, relationship with the context, relationship with environment, and sense of community. But it's a quite of utopia, this type of example. We cannot build, not everybody can escape and live in Arcosanti, and I will tell you why. And consider this was an experience with the vision and the culture. To understand each architect, you have to contextualize him in the cultural type. He's living in 1970 after the crisis of the energy in his United States, with a certain relationship with the environment, with a certain form and shape of the building and language. He mentioned he was following Frank Lloyd Wright. We have a different dimension, a different language. We speak the language of our time, and we have to support the needs of our society. But it's a great example, a great lesson. In Egypt, it's not comparable because it's a little bit different, the approach, but I really think you have to know the experience of second. It's an interesting experience. Also here we have the dream and the visionary guy. Second is eco-village. It's a farm and also is a new university, Heliopolis University, and they are extremely careful with the sustainable design. It's a quite interesting and peculiar story here in Egypt. This is the publication. I'm reading this book, by the way. And it's the story behind from where starting this work. It's similar to Paolo Soleri, but it's not for architecture. It's going more and more on the issue of the community, and there is a strong philosophy behind. It's a very interesting. I suggest also to visit this place. I visited the eco village. I visited all the factory inside because it's an interesting experience. I've been invited in the Heliopolis University several times. I know how they're working. It's always nice to exchange and to understand how they are approaching. This is the short story of Sekhem. I would like to watch with you.
When faced with a barren desert, it requires enormous vision to see the garden that it once was. In 1977, Ibrahim Abulayesh and his wife Gudrun decided to move with their teenage children Helmi and Mona from Austria to Egypt to go back to the garden. Leaving his successful career as research director for a European pharmaceutical company, Ibrahim and his family chose to settle in the desert 60 kilometers northeast of Cairo. Ibrahim passionately believed that it was possible to make the desert bloom, and he immediately began to plant trees as well as medicinal plants and food crops in the desert.
All the experts, family, friends, everyone to whom my father addressed his idea, his dream about a sustainable community in the desert, recommended to him to forget about it.
Before we came here, was absolutely desert. So we don't have a street, don't have water, or electricity, or any transportation, communication. So we had to build that by ourselves.
In the beginning, the local people were extremely skeptical, but perhaps this is normal when witnessing a miracle.
They must have thought I am crazy.
Ibrahim's dream manifested as the second community. Its name, the ancient Egyptian word for the vitality of the sun. The results are proving that a resilient, compassionate group of people collaborating harmoniously can transform a desert into a thriving and sustainable community. Sekhem has become a center for ecological regeneration, as well as for unfolding human potential. Ibrahim Abulayesh called Sekhem's ecological, social, entrepreneurial, and fair trade approach an economy of love.
Behind this project, there is this approach, social entrepreneurship project. It's very, very nice. And the project, it's, if you compare with Soleri, it's more in the social impact, food production, agriculture, and environmental.
Today, you can witness here that organic and biodynamic farming is perfect for restoration of deserts. It's perfect for greening the desert.
It's talking about restoration of desert. So we are going through natural conservation of the natural system, protection of the environment, taking care of resource. This is the key word and the principle we have to keep with us in the green design.
Creates living soils. It uses less water, sequesters carbon, and deals with this huge challenge of salinity.
For the children of the community and the surrounding
Observing, documenting, and communicating about the restoration of large-scale degraded landscapes.
I have witnessed that it is possible to rehabilitate fundamentally degraded landscapes, including those that's exactly what is needed. A dream of restoring the deserts and creating peace.
I will move a bit because you can watch maybe the full documentary by yourself. Let me adjust something here. There is a problem to reading informo. Sorry, I'm doing very quickly. Sorry, I want to make a readable. Okay. I will adjust when I will send you the PDF. On the topic of the data, on the topic of the conservation, on the topic of the community, this is not okay. I will arrive to the point. This is a very interesting documentary, Solar Mama. Solar Mama is a documentary showing the experience of selected women from different countries, and also it's a very fun story. It also is about the gender protection and the sense of the family and the community, very interesting. I've been selected from a special university in India, the Bharati program, and they are former to become able to support by the solar panel system and bring some light in the desert. It's a very interesting story. Of course, you cannot imagine they're coming full engineering like you are, you study seriously, but it's a social impact program. And it's a very interesting documentary because it's showing all the process, the sense of the community, how this element could be repeated. Because it started from the desert, Arizona, Solari, and then second, in the case of Egypt. This is very, very interesting. And it's the case how the clean energy could be used to improve the quality of the life for sustainable development, let's say. Now, just to close a bit this issue of the utopia, the green city, the clean city, my dream city. This has become a slogan. But we are architects. We can dream a lot. We can have a lot of visionary and perspective and reference, but we have to land on our reality. And the reality today is most of the people live in the city. And it's not easy to create SECAM everywhere, to have Arpasanti everywhere, to have the green village for everybody. Because the number, the dimension, the scale, the population, the demography are not working with this dream very well. Means the city are coming the center of the problem, because the city are the key to addressing the social inequity, all the other problem. No, now why, how, and what? This is a very interesting thing. Now the why, because the city calling us. The city is the place, is the topic. What is related with the state of the urban planet, the condition, why the city called because the people are moving, because it's coming out topic, and how is our responsibility. How is meaning to find a way to apply principle for sustainable planning city. This is the point. Now, this is our data, okay? You heard a lot about 2050, 2030, approximately 70% of the people will live in an urban area, and 4 billion of people living in the city today. You will find different data. Data are constantly updated. And again, remark 70%, 90% of the city are from the building and transportation sector. 2/3 of the amount of the world energy is used from the city. Now, the city is in the center of everything, and the city exploded, are growing, are coming mega city. The Cairo is an excellent example for that, and super interesting for you. And if you are going on the topics of the mega city, the large dimension, just 25 of the mega city producing 52% of the world urban greenhouse gases. Now, the city is attractive, it's fantastic, it's the center of the economy, it's a cultural experience, it's the point of the diversity, it's the point where you meet different people. But city is a bomb. It's a bomb for the environment, and the data are very strong. Another spot, the city are reported to be responsible for more than 70% of the emission. In addition, the city in Europe, United States, and Australia tended to put out more emission than the majority of urban centers in the developed country. I mean, there are certain particular zones, like Europe, United States, and Australia, they are producing a lot, more than the rest of the planet. And there are also another observation about mobility, another important thing. Some people are consuming, buildings are consuming, production system is producing for emission, and also the physical part of the city, the building. If you are going to overlook some data, no total carbon footprint, this is, we will see, there is Cairo dimension about Cairo, is a relationship between population in millions and the quantity of the emissions. And as you see, there are different situations. Okay, Tokyo is very dense city, high population, and is in that level, let's say in the medium. But Seoul is a super high level, and New York too, and Hong Kong too, because Hong Kong has a very few people if you compare with Jakarta or Cairo or whatever. But look, the production is very, very high. It's very concentrated. Reflection over the city. Cities are growing, but cities are changing. Now, the challenges of the city and the building are not going to change. The challenges because the society, because the community, because our culture, because our behavior, because our lifestyle, because our global community. This is the reason of that.
Well, to work on sustainable mobility, I would say be ambitious and be a bit crazy in the way you're looking at your city. We are inventing something new, so it means a bit of political will and conviction, but what is coming next is really enthusiastic against.
The transportation of people and goods account for nearly a fourth of global carbon dioxide emissions, making it one of the greatest challenges facing.
Number of people, high density, high production of emission. This is related with the type of mobility. If everybody is using the car, this is a very big issue. We will notice after summer principle to design a good city.
Cities today, but it also presents a great opportunity for low carbon urban development. Cities around the world have begun to recognize these opportunities and are busy transitioning from the current fossil fuel dependency to a future built on energy efficiency and renewable energy, a shift that protects the planet while improving people's lives.
Mobility, I think, is one of the most important aspects that have an influence in climate change, in air quality.
And please note are the comments are not only from architects, but are from responsible of the government, from the ministry, from the consultant, from the professor in the university. I mean, all of us are figured we are working for the better city.
And especially in the quality of life of citizens.
Yeah, Paris is very much engaged in the sustainable mobility program. I would say we have support another mobility, low carbon, less polluting mobility, like with the things we did with the Velib or Autolib, the electrical and bike sharing system we have, and to reduce the individual cars within the city. And all that policy together has like co-benefits right now on everyday life for the people.
The role of the private sectors and the role of the cities of the future is extremely important. Actually, I have never felt before to the extent that we as the private sector will be part of the solution.
Sustainable urban mobility requires a mind shift, one where we move from carbon-intensive modes of transport to more sustainable solutions like electric vehicles, car sharing, the expansion of bicycle and pedestrian lanes, as well as an overall shift from road to rail freight.
50% of all the trips that we do within the city are less than 8 kilometers. And this is where the bike becomes very efficient for these shorter trips. And that's why we've increased our public bike system. We're increasing our bike lanes, our culture to have responsible cyclists.
All of the mentioned example, action, and case study are something you can design, you can work on, you can think on, you can consider when you design a landscape, when you design outdoor space, when you're going to plan the compound, when you're going to plan half of the development of the big city, of the new desert city, or whatever. All of these will be part of our professional lives.
Cities of the future will be much more dense, the streets will be much more narrow, and we as a transport supplier need to be able to fit into that with new technologies, new sizes of trucks and buses. And for instance, going electric, as we're doing right now, means that nowadays you can actually have your bus stop inside the building that you live in. And you don't need to go out in the rain to wait for the bus.
Where suitable, bus rapid transit, or BRT, is another promising transport solution for cities. Here, buses are given priority through a system of dedicated bus lanes, which enables them to avoid traffic congestion and thereby run more quickly and efficiently.
The BRT system in Mexico City has really allowed us to include public transport in many of the busiest and more important streets in Mexico City. Because we know that the BRT lines have been so successful, is that we are increasing our BRT lines. And something that is very interesting is that the city card for transport includes the BRT lines, the subway station, the electric system for public transport, but also our public bike system. They're all included within this same card.
Just to clarify, maybe you're not familiar, BRT system, it's a bus rapid transit, the way to connect different modalities of transportation. It's like a hub.
Biggest challenges are how in mobility is how you change behavior. After public policies, how you take people on board with you, how we all collectively accept that the world is changing, the way the city are organized is changing, and that beyond the obvious action that a city must have, citizens themselves also have to change the way they are looking at their city and using that city. And that's the condition to build a more sustainable place to live.
Cities can't do this alone and are often dependent on the participation of their citizens.
In this particular instance, we aim to encourage the communities to consider alternative means of transport, such as cycling and public transport, such as our REN bus. But then basically, it is also to relate the story that we make it each and everybody's responsibility to reduce carbon emissions in the city.
Adapting solutions to local conditions enables cities to provide transportation options to people in low-income areas, thereby setting off a whole chain of positive outcomes, such as better access to services, as well as the local job market.
From an economic perspective, it's very much connected between transport growth and GDP growth. It's completely connected. We can make people grow, we can make cities grow, we can make business grow and countries grow, but with a reduced CO2 footprint. And that's where sustainable transport solutions is, where you can combine the economic sustainability, the environmental sustainability, and the social sustainability.
It's a very important note and remark because it's to highlight the point that starts at the beginning from the definition of theory of sustainability. And it's a very interesting application in different contexts, different levels, from South Africa, from Medellin, from North America, okay? And it's the application of principle. Later we'll talk about principle of the green design.
Stakeholder engagement is the key to success as we aim to significantly lower greenhouse gas emissions, particularly in the area of sustainable urban mobility. We need to see engagement at all levels and throughout society. Decision makers who dare to implement bold public policies, innovative companies that contribute to the creation of people-oriented, low-carbon solutions, and citizens who strongly support the development of attractive, sustainable places to live and work.
This is our mission: create a better city, sustainable place to live and work. This is the point. Well, just a remark, imagine the residents of just 100 cities account for 20% about the carbon footprint. I give you also some data to realize what is it. This is the article, you can go a little bit more deeply, and this is the high impact. Now, cities are important, are attractive, but are our point of attraction for design also and planning, because it's an emergency. Cities are calling. This is the reason why. I don't know if you heard a bit about the urban agenda for 2030, and there is one of the goals is sustainable city and community. And it's very, very, very important to make this city inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And of course, we cannot respond like this part of the interview. I live in a city, but I'm not affected by any of this issue. Why should I care? Now we're back on the definition of sustainability. All this issue will affect every citizen, and is very, very important. We have a responsibility as a designer, as educator, as a real estate developer, as a construction company, as a government, as a citizen, as a habitant, but also as a designer. Very, very important. A short remark about the sustainable goals, which one can really address the principle of your design and your planning.
Nearly 1 billion people on this planet live in slums and informal settlements, mostly in developing countries. These people are acutely vulnerable. They're typically more exposed to climate hazards, but they're also living in extremely precarious locations with low quality housing, very limited, almost negligible hazard reducing infrastructure, and also with a very limited capacity to cope. That is why we need to focus on the urban poor.
In support of the Secretary General's call for greater climate action, UN Habitat is renewing our commitment to reducing inequalities between places and within cities and communities.
From the transportation, the footprint, and the emission, we're moving a little bit more and watching the report related to the social impact of the urban poor.
One of the ways we are doing this is through building the climate resilience of the Urban Poor Initiative.
Challenge today is that every city must have a resilience strategy. And the urban poor, who are very vulnerable and face the consequences of climatic incidences, have to be addressed.
Whether it's from profiling, diagnosis, to planning, to implementation, to monitoring, the poor and their communities must be at the center of any adaptation process.
This will begin with community enumeration. Communities will validate maps of urban poverty hotspots from satellite images. They will also validate downscale scientific climate projection data. The initiative will therefore include both top-down and bottom-up information flow.
When national governments take the urban
Europe or here in Africa, we must recognize that individual states cannot by themselves mitigate the threat of climate change. International cooperation, shared responsibilities, solidarity, if we are to combat.
Maybe you can watch again the video, and I suggest the link is there in the slide. It's very, very important to become familiar and get some inspiration, because these are the goals. The goals, are the principles, are the aims, let's say, for the urban agenda of 2030 under the United Nations. For sure, the number 11 is important, but not the only one, because infrastructure is the 9 is important, affordable and clean energy is important, gender equality is important for the social impact, no poverty is important, zero hunger is important, and life below the water is very important. I present a lecture about the water and climate action too. If you're going to document yourself about that, you will find a lot of project and case study. It can give you inspiration, a reference, and can be for you something to achieve with your design. Now, we are designers, okay? We know data, we know video, movie, film, picture, or whatever, but the design approach that seeks to minimize the negative environmental, social, and economic impacts is our aims. Very, very important. Okay, this is the philosophy behind my presentation. The problem, the vision, the utopia, and now let's go on the design. It means we're talking about sustainable city, water storage management, reduction of the water, runoff, absorption pollution, green roof. All this is a type of action and intervention, a green belts and a green roof, and increase the panel of efficiency and reduction of the acoustic pollution. This is like a vision, like a strategy, let's say. Now, sustainable urban planning and principle are beside, okay? We are talking, first of all, on environmental quality and ecological restoration. We are about restoration, conservation of the desert. There are principles, and there are principles are going to the scale. Then the land development, And then, for example, the healthy city, the environmental protection, and the social inclusivity and the cultural promotion. Through what? For example, deliver each city, follow the city and the landscape design guidelines, follow principle, follow reference, build continually interconnect slow traffic system. In the social inclusiveness and cultural promotion, promote social equality and public participation in planning, as already mentioned in some of the video. This is the way to design a sustainable city. In which scale? The barrier of free design, the public participation in planning, the preservation. There are some, another appendix I found about the principle of the, and some key elements in the ecological restoration and urban patch. Water resource development sponge city is the way to act for it. Urban renewal project, no demolition and completely reconstruction or protection, but have a look at the case, the renovation according to specific case study. Land develop also the principle explained before, livable city ultimately. There are key elements, okay? For example, for the livable city, we talk about smart city, we're talking about public space, we're talking about the slow traffic system, okay? All of these are actions. Then you can search project and case study, and reference can help you to follow this principle. We don't have a vision, we don't have a principle, we don't have the state of the problem, we are going nowhere. Okay, and there is also the scale, parcel project, regional project, and parcel project. What does it mean to be a sustainable city? This is the big question. 10 characteristics of green urban planning, also called green urban planning, sustainable or whatever. Public transportation. We already remarked the problem of the emission is very, very important for the pollution. I think so I have to run for the time. And through system, the metro system and the underground railway. Walkable city, and then if you have a lot of public transportation and sorry, 1 second, is the things of the time. And the people can live a different quality, also is healthy. There are also some data when we are talking about the top of the workable city. There is the list. This is a list in 2020 for United States. You see how is the classification. If we're talking about a workable city, we put the pedestrian first in front of us for the infrastructure, for the type of the activity, for the priority. This is our not project. This is our principle. This is our strategy. This is our guidelines. This is our approach to certain design. This is an interesting article, a remark about Copenhagen. Now, we cannot have a green city and the green system everywhere like here in the arid zone and MENA region, but we can capture some principal aspects and work on. The charging station, another important point, the solar farm. Be careful because we are talking about solar farm, using the solar panel for the production of food. Green building is the big issue. 30% of the world's greenhouse and gas emission come from the building. Now, whatever we are going to build up is a bomb, it's a problem, has a huge impact in the environment. Be very careful. I select here some example when we say green building, what is it? Be very, very, very careful when we are covering everything with plants, everything with flower. This is cost a lot. It's a huge impact in technology, in maintenance, and all of this kind of thing. This is an excellent, fantastic park in Singapore. I've never been there, but it's one of my dreams. And because Singapore is another climate zone, we cannot really learn and take from Singapore everything, but we can understand on the global scale how is the level of the Singapore, and is working a lot with this green, excellent example of building. And is the issue of the facade, the green facade especially. And there is a short video, but I think you can watch by yourself because I have to run by the time. There is the link here. I will provide a PDF for you. Don't worry, you're not going to miss anything. Just maybe quickly, we can have a look something.
Also found there.
Yes, it's a reflection about the lack of the nature and the green space. And the video will talk about the biophilic design. Okay, this kind of approach. Our main reference, Yangel, has an endless number of green buildings, doesn't make a sustainable city. Be very, very careful to transform the boxes in a green carpet. Okay, be very, very careful. The green building could say our city, by the way, and this is a very nice example of green building. We can put a solar panel, we can have the rooftop with we can put the orientation building, we can have the greenery outside, we can have a many action, many accurate detail and approach to give the contribution. Okay, just a schema, an example. The topic of the food production, the principle number 6, is very, very important because we need food. If the population increasing, people eating, who is going to produce all of this food necessary when most of the food is packaging and traveling from here, from there? It's very, very important question. For that, there is a short video about the urban farming.
This workplace education is future, and populations continue to grow.
And video is take the point of reflection on the growing up of the city plus the production food. It's very, very interesting. You can watch by yourself. And the food production is going to the report of World Resources report. This is World Resource Institute. It's very, very interesting to find a lot of article and reading and understanding more and more the issue. The topic of the farm in the city, urban farm or vertical garden or whatever. This is coming another big phenomenon. It's part of the green city. What is meaning the urban farming, or sometimes urban, also known as a urban agriculture. Okay, I put some case, growing cities like a movement is a documentary to understand better how it's working. There is the movie here by the YouTube. You can watch the trailer by yourself. What is the meaning of urban farming? And sometimes the issue of urban farming and the reuse of the roof is something is touching also the topic of livable city and the topic of affordable housing. There's a very peculiar example in Hong Kong. This guy from far away, from 3 generations, he know how to deal with the bee and the honey production, and he invented these interesting things in Hong Kong. Did you remember Hong Kong is one of the critical case for the density? I suggest to have a look at the story. It's the story of the brand and the production. It is a very interesting short documentary. The link is here. You can have a look at the story of the guy. It's quite interesting. Because I don't know what's up with the so there is a little bit overload in PowerPoint. I will try to move on. PowerPoint is a bit overload. Let's see if it come live. Let me try to solve the problem. One second. Okay, sorry, the PowerPoint was blocked. Okay, I think so. We were on the issue of the Singapore and the building and young girl and the urban farming, and then the documentary and the experience of Hong Kong. The video is not working. I will try
It's attached.
to show you the particular connection with the nature, with the culture.
I got this email from this young woman.
Come to
elderly
the mega city. It's very interesting. And this is the company, the brand, HK Honey, and the production, and become a garden, also touristic attraction, also the special plant. This is a great contribution. It's a very particular project. As you know, the topic of the bee to save the planet. Then the principle number 7, accessible public resource. I don't know if you heard about the topic of the 15-minute city where everything is close, everything is affordable. It's a quite a topic, but it's interesting. The topic of the water conservation, the water considered as a rainwater harvesting, the green infrastructure, the water is hardware. I mean, we already discussed about the water a lot the last presentation. Public green space. This is a very interesting book. I suggest to have a look. And of course, the green network. This is the example of the Eye Line as a whole the railway infrastructure. This was the state of the conservation. And then this one became a very interesting public space, completely with a huge renovation, the real estate change, and now is a place where the people like to stay, to enjoy. This is the project, a very interesting design from Villers Confido, the section, the study of the vegetation, the structure, the system, the drawing, how is the accessibility, the pedestrian area, the stair, the different level, all the technical reference, and these are very detailed drawing, all the study of the vegetation and the topic of the nature and the space. This is a short video, you can have a look by yourself. The impact of the greenery. When we talk about the principle, mental health and this and that, this is our number. If you have the green element, well-designed street, this is a lot of benefit for the community. And the remark why the green element could be considered the benefit of the urban tree. This protection of the biodiversity is the project of Hong Kong. And then the 10 principle waste management, because we are producing a lot of waste. And this is a remark, no, the people who like to live rather than moving out and giving up another piece of land. It's very important about occupy space and the way we are living together. Now, this city aims is to be the world greenest. There are some examples. It's the case of Singapore, the most sustainable city in the world. The list, why, what, have a look, some examples, some project. Cape Town, South Africa for the wind farm, Helsinki for the eco traveler, Vancouver to produce the production of the greenhouse gases in the North America. There are different things. And in another article, one of the remark things is not just through green building, but implement green architecture, okay? Energy saving, reduction of the greenhouse emission, improve the air quality and better health. This is the study of the benefit of the green health, the green space for the good mental health with a lot of reference and why this is this huge impact and what is the benefit. Now you will be the responsible of the life of the people. This is an interesting publication as it's not very up-to-date, 2018. The lecture is very long and the time running. Maybe we will have an opportunity for another summer school to focus on the MENA region and arid zone. But you will find inside this publication, you can easily download an amazing data and reference for all of you, because we are living in the MENA region. Well, the last message, good design is sustainable design. This is why I start my presentation. Thanks for listening. If there is any question, I'm available here. Thank you. I will pass quickly through the image and the reference. I will share with you my presentation with all the link. You can suggest watch again the movie, the video and everything to get the topics better and better and to get a lot of inspiration for your work, your study and your research interest. Thank you again. Please, from the coordination of Studio 34, let's tell me if there is any question or not. So shall we close the conversation? I will text also in the Facebook group if there are any questions. Shall we close? There is no question. Shall I leave? Okay. Bye bye. I'm leaving. If there is any question, you can contact me also. Bye bye.